Hi everybody, it's another Q&A Wednesday. So whilst I sort myself out, let's roll the credits and let's crack on into the first question. Right, Mac and Sarah ask, with your wealth of experience and knowledge as an accomplished caravan, what's the one piece of advice you could give to a newbies, or the one thing you wish you'd known much sooner? My advice to any caravaner who's just starting off is, providing you've done all your research, providing you are legal and you are safe, providing all of those things, and you've had some sort of experience of training, maybe you've done some courses, or maybe you're already okay with towing. However it is, my biggest advice is when you head off to your first campsite, the first one is, don't go too far away to start with. You don't need to go miles away. Our very first caravan outing was to Cirencester. It is 15 minutes drive away from our house, and we checked in there, we hitched up, and we had, I think it was 4 days at Cirencester. Use it as an experience to test everything. Make sure you're familiar with the caravan. It's not just testing whether things are working, it's making sure that you're happy on how to work them. Can you remember what the chap said about turning the heating on, and what does that switch do? All of those things. The second bit of advice from me is, take your time. There is no rush, absolutely no rush. I mentioned in a previous question that it takes us between 25 and 35 minutes to set up. That's absolutely true. On the first day that we set up, I think it took us 4 hours to set up everything. And that was because both of us wanted to know everything, so we weren't going off and doing our separate jobs. Both of us wanted to do everything, so we were literally walking around as a couple doing every task. And also, we weren't doing it in the most efficient way. We were inquisitive, what happens if that happens, and what have you. The awning went up 3 times, I think it was, because we weren't happy with the way it went up. When you're driving, be mindful of people who are behind you, who are not as patient as you may be. There is no point in racing, even though everybody will moan at you because you're a moving chicane, as many people will call you, or you're a hindrance, or you're a pain in the backside. Just ignore it. Be safe, be careful. And my other top tip would be, buy a dash cam. You'll as soon as you start caravanning, as soon as you've got one of these things on the back of your car, you will notice how everybody else's driving deteriorates around you, because everybody needs to be in front of you, everybody needs to be faster than you, and they need to show you that they are better and faster and quicker. And it's absolutely disgraceful, some of the driving that I've experienced whilst towing a caravan, and for that reason I made sure that I had a dash cam in the car. So that's my top tips. There is lots of other tips obviously I could give you, but by and large that would be my overwhelming message to anybody. Just take your time, make sure you are safe, make sure you are legal, and you'll have a great time. You really will. Okay, so this is an interesting question, and one that I'll open up to you guys as well. Pink and blue stuff or green stuff? Love the channel. Yeah, we started, I'm sure you guys did as well, we started caravanning and we were told it was pink for the stink and blue for the poo, and that was the chemicals you used in the toilet. Over time we stopped using the pink because of the black bits it created in the flush tank, so we stopped using pink altogether. And then we went to a CL site and they stipulated no blue chemicals, green only. And I can't remember which one it is. I can't remember if it was soakaway or a septic tank. It's one of the two that you can't really use the blue chemicals because it disturbs the way it works. So we used up all our blue chemical and we switched over to the Thetford green. And ever since then we have used only green chemicals. In the flush tank, generally speaking, it's just water. We don't bother putting anything in it. Sometimes though, we do put a small dash of Zoflora in there, just to make it smell a bit better. The ones we use is the Thetford green chemical. We have used the 40 shot green one, which smells very nice when you're setting up the loo. It smells beautiful, in fact. But after you've used it and you've used the toilet, it just smells a bit awful. You know, we mixed in with what smells like bubble gum. We just didn't get on with the smell. Performance wise, it did exactly the same thing as what the Thetford stuff does, but we just didn't get on with the smell. I know lots of people love it. We just didn't. So that's the reason why we don't use that anymore. So yes, that's what we use. And I was opening it up to you. Put down in the comments below what you use. Do you use pink and blue, or do you just use green? And also, which brand of green do you use? The best thing you've purchased for your van and the worst. Okay, the best thing, oh, that's a really good question. I think the best thing that we've purchased for our caravan would be the towing covers for all our caravans. Let me explain to you why. A towing cover obviously covers your caravan whilst you're towing it. I remember one December, way back when we had the Luna, Tom and I had spent a long time up there cleaning the caravan like we used to do. Great father and son bonding experience. We used to clean the caravan by ourselves and have a great time doing it. Then we'd clean and polish the windows and make it sparkle, and we did that the day before we went away to Longleat, and it was Longleat Festival of Lights. The caravan sparkled, so we picked it up, we headed on down through the Wiltshire Roads, down through Warminster, got into Longleat, parked up, and the front of the caravan was disgusting. It was covered in silage from the farm trails. Road dirt was all over the front windows. We couldn't actually see out the front windows, they were that bad, so I had to wash them down whilst we were on site, which obviously you're not allowed to do. So I cleaned the front of the caravan down, and I said there and then, I'm buying a bloody front cover because I'm not doing that again. And so I bought one from Specialised, we fitted it, brilliant, and then we headed on up the following May, we headed on up to North Wales. And I swear to this day that if we didn't have that towing cover on, we would have lost a window, because some debris came bouncing down the motorway, hit the front of the car, hit the screen, rolled over and hit the caravan. And you can see on the towing cover the mark that this debris had left, and there was no damage to the window whatsoever. And I say to this day, it saved our front window. So I was really grateful that we had that. We've had one now for every caravan that we've owned, including this one. This one's the Infinity one, which means it goes all the way up and over. That's probably the best thing that we've ever bought. The worst thing would be all the outdoor furniture that we went through until we discovered the Isabella chairs and furniture for outside. We spent a fortune on chairs, and every chair that we bought was either uncomfortable or cold. Cold was the worst one. Ideal in summer because it allows you, you don't get hot and sweaty on your back. But in the winter, because it had like micro holes in the fabric, your back would be freezing cold, and we hated them for that. We had about 4 sets of different chairs of different designs, different qualities, not cheap. And we had to, if we bought one chair, we'd have to buy 4 because everybody wanted a chair. We then had cabinets as well to fit alongside those chairs, and little tables, and it was awful. And I think it was Love to Stay 2018, my chair broke for the upteenth time. Being a fat lad, you would expect these sort of things. And I said to Angela, let's just go down to Salop Leisure and buy another chair. And the only one they had was an ex-display Isabella Thor. Is that the one? It's the one with the long neck. It's the long back. It's got a crook neck. Yes, it's the Thor, I think. Or was it the well, whatever. We bought the chair from Salop Leisure. It was ex-display, and it was the most comfortable chair I'd ever had. And then we bought 2 more for Chloe and Angela because Tom wasn't with us anymore. We've got those. They were the other ones. They're the Thor, the Loki, I don't know which ones. Completely flat-backed. And we got those 2 in at the end of 2018, as we got the Ridgeway, and we still have those chairs now. But that Isabella chair has lasted me since 2018, and if you consider, like I said, I'm not a small chap, and it has not buckled, it hasn't broken, it hasn't split, it hasn't worn away, it hasn't done any of those things. Of course, this is tempting fate now, isn't it? Touch wood. And it's probably been that's probably been the good thing to come out of a selection of very bad choices in terms of outdoor furniture. So this question I want to answer, and I don't have it here in front of me because I can't find it, but it's one I want to answer. Their question was, years ago we used to go away with our cats. Can we talk about that in more detail? They're struggling with the cost of the cattery. Absolutely. We did used to go away with our cats, and it wasn't something that we planned. It was something that happened because we were badly let down by a cattery, and either we cancelled our holiday or we just took the cats with us, and I said, well, let's take them with us. It was only Smudge we had at that time, and the dog and the cat used to get on anyway, so we're taking the dog with us, why not just take the cat with us? We thought, find out and see if it's like. But before we took them away, I did do some preparation work. We were let down about 2 weeks before we were due to go away. We couldn't find any friends or family to help us out to come over and feed him, so we just made the decision, let's take him with us. So this is what I did. I took him out onto the driveway in the car, and I just sat with him in the car without the engine running. And the reason why I did this was because I thought that the most traumatic thing the cat can go through is literally being transported in the car in the box. It's unfamiliar territory, they don't like it and they hate it. Certainly he meows and whinges like hell when we take him to the vets. So I just sat with him in the car without the engine running, and I just used to stroke him, and I would talk quietly with him. I did not have the engine running, I did not have the radio running. It was literally as quiet as it could be, and I let him walk around the car. I sat out there for a good couple of hours with him until he decided to settle down on the passenger seat next to me, and I just gave him some positive reinforcement, gave him a couple of treats, stroked him, you know, all of those things. Did that for a couple of days, and then on the third day he was happy, you know, he knew where he was, he knew what he was involved in, and then on that day I then turned on the radio and also had the fans going. Not the engine running, I just had the fans going, and he could smell the air, and he could, you know, he got a bit funny about that, but then after a while he got used to it. The next day I took him back into the car and I started the engine up with the fans and the radio going, and he was fine with that, in fact. And then I sat out there a good half an hour with him, just walking around the car, settling down again, and that was absolutely fine. The next job was to get Chloe to sit in the car with me. She sat in the car with him, he went straight to her, settled down on her lap, and that was fine. So then the next obvious thing would be to take him for a drive, and we went around where we live, and we went to Swindon and back and did some shopping, and he was fine. Well, he got used to the sound of the doors slamming shut. That was one thing that he did not like. He got used to that and he was fine as long as he was cuddled. And then I did exactly the same. I then brought him up here to the storage yard, and I brought him into the caravan and I let him sniff his way around. I brought some of the things with him which he relates to, and I did that over the course of a couple of days until he was again settled. And he would sit up on the sofa, onto the central table here, and he would look out the window, and he was fine, because there was things in the van that smelt of home, so he was all right. So when it actually came to going on holiday, I did all this preparation work just for us to go on holiday. By the time we hitched up and headed off, and I think it was Longley actually we were heading to, by the time we headed off down to Longley, he was absolutely fine in the car. In fact, he slept most of the way with Chloe, looking out the window occasionally. He did meow, but he was okay. And then when we got to site, the first thing I did once I set up, because Angela wasn't with me at that time, I had to go and pick her up later on in the day. What we did is we set up the caravan, and we set up a little cushion which he used to sleep on in the house. We set it up on the site, put him down, set his loo up in the bathroom. We used silica non-clumping kitty litter. We put his food out, we set it all up for him. We locked him in the van, and then we left him, and we came we had to go back to Chippenham to pick up Angela because she was doing the shopping, and then we picked her up with all the food, came back, and he was absolutely fine. By the time we came back, he was sleeping on the side dinette at the back of the van, and he was as happy as can be. And he was always a great caravan cat. We did lose him once. He ran away in Burford, which if you've seen our videos years ago, you would notice that whole drama. But he just came back, and he was absolutely fine. Again, it's because I enforced that positive feedback with him, and he was fine. So we then decided, well, it's fine bringing the cat with us. When we got Luna, when we rescued Luna, she came along with us and she was fine. And again, the dog, the two cats, it was great. But that was where the problem started. It was a bit like Animal Farm. It was horrendous because we had cats running over us in the night. The dog wouldn't shut up because the cats were running around. So then the dog would get up a bit uppity because the cats wanted to play with him. By the way, they all get on fine. But then it just became a bit of a nightmare. They were always all over us all the time because they were having such a joyful time of it. And then we decided when Chloe stopped coming with us, we're going to stop bringing the cats with us. I think if you've just got one cat, it's fine. You know, it's absolutely fine. If you've got two, I think it's a bit is a bit of a job, because Luna was back then a very adventurous and playful kitten, really, I should say, and she was a nightmare, absolutely. So now they just stay at home. You know, we don't bring them with us, but I wouldn't have any issues with bringing them with us again, because they're absolutely fantastic. Great company of an evening, because they would settle down in your lap, purring away, having the life of Riley, and it saved us a fortune in cattery bills. You know, it saved us an absolute fortune. So that's how we went around that problem. So, you know, give it a go yourself. Only you can answer that question, whether your cat is suitable for doing it. Ours were, yeah, it was a great time. Right, and there we go, the end to another Q&A Wednesday. Many thanks everybody who has been sending in the questions. It's been really good, and there's still a wide variety of questions there that I still haven't answered. So yeah, so there's still more to go. So thank you very much to everybody who has contributed to this video. Normal video will be out on Friday, but in the meantime, please do hit the subscribe button, hit the notification icon, and I'll see you then. Take care everybody, bye bye.